it doesn't matter. Those are the wrong people in your life anyways, right?
Hi, babes. Welcome back to the Chase Life with Kelly show. I am your host, Kelly Chase. Today, we have an incredible guest on the show with us. Dr. Remina Panjwani is a board certified internal medicine physician, functional medicine specialist, author, keynote speaker, podcast host, and Air Force veteran whose mission is to transform healthcare and empower others through holistic healing. After serving in Iraq and witnessing the limitations of conventional medicine, including on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic, she made it her purpose to address the root causes of illness rather than temporary fixes. Because of her groundbreaking work and compassionate approach, Dr. Panjwani has become a sought-after leader for those seeking to escape the quote-unquote band-aid approach and the pharmaceutical rat race that dominate modern healthcare. Through her concierge functional medicine practice, wellness workshops, retreats, and sound healing experiences, she has helped thousands, directly and indirectly, reclaim their vitality, emotional balance, and purpose. Her story of resilience, service, and innovation has been featured in Forbes, Brains Magazine, and other global platforms. Guided by a deep belief in the body's innate capacity to heal, Dr. Panjwani continues to make a profound social impact by bridging science, service, and spirit to uplift communities worldwide. Welcome to the show, Dr. Panjwani. Hello, Dr. Ramina. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, how are you today? Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited too. I was obviously introduced through mutual friends to you, and I'm after like now I'm connected with you on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, and she's like friends with this person that I know.
It's a small world once you start connecting
Yeah.
everyone social media wise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so neat. I love that. You seem to be such a multifaceted person, and that's just kind of like I love meeting other like-minded individuals that are, just in a place of service and place of creating more impact and to serve others. And I just love that. I mean, coming from Air Force veteran, as well as author and keynote and podcast host, like all the things. That's incredible. And obviously a doctor. So that is so neat. I would love to know just kind of like, when you were growing up or your adolescence, like what was that like? How did like your past shape to who you became?
Hmm. That's such a loaded question, actually.
Yes.
When when we're in our developing years and we're growing and we're young, we really don't see the big picture. But
Mhm.
there's moments in life in the journey that prepare you for who you're going to become. And so as I reflect on that, I can see those key moments. So growing up, it was in different phases and different stages. So my childhood, I have wonderful parents. I love them. But I'm the first generation to grow up in the United States to have a college education. So the life that they left, they came from a developing country to give my brother and I a better life. So they came from a different mindset, a different socioeconomic class, right? They came from survival mode. And so growing up, I saw the ethics of hard work, but I also saw that generational trauma. And it was just, those daily moments where I didn't really realize I was different. I knew deep down inside I was, and I didn't quite fit in. I had a group of friends, of course, but I was felt a little out of place because I look back now, it's because I was meant for greater things. And if you notice all the great things, like you mentioned, people that have these great aspects, and our great minds think alike in this sense, but growing up, you don't see that. You don't see that the great minds actually do think alike, but different.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That's true.
saw, yes, like so
Yeah.
growing up, I saw that. And so part of it, yes, part of it in my own family, right? Because I come from a South Asian background as well. And so if you're traditional, they're like, oh, just get married, have kids, whatever, right? And I'm like, no, I needed to do something different. I didn't know quite yet. So after high school, I decided to join the military. So that was the first stage.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was all those key moments. But when you're young, you're 18, 19, your mind isn't fully developed. And as a woman, it's so important to have role models to mirror this sense of self-worth, right? And so we don't know that until we learn lessons in life. So I didn't know. I didn't have really a sense of worth. I didn't know. I wasn't encouraged that I could go get an education and I was capable of stuff. I was never told that, right? But that's not to my parents' fault. We were in survival mode. So
Yeah.
I joined the military and I got more than I thought I would. And so during those key years, I would still imagine before I went into adulthood, I learned confidence. I learned the skills of worth. I learned that in near-death experiences deployed, that it was my choice to take into my hands how I'm going to change the trajectory. And so at that time, I'm like, I'm going to go get an education because knowledge really is power. And especially for women, if you are equipped with knowledge, self-confidence, and sense of worth, man, you can do so many good things.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely can. What compelled you to want to go into the military?
At that time, I'm not going to give this the textbook answer. I wanted to serve my country. To be honest, when I look back on this, I didn't know my sense of worth. And I think that's what it was. I was trying to find purpose. And I didn't know if I was good enough to go to college, right? Like here I am now. Like I think back and the words that I say, I can say it out loud because that's part of my journey. And anyone else who sees it, if that resonates, it's okay. Like be it shows up as imposter syndrome or whatever the case is, it's still the same worth issue, right? And everyone still goes through it. You just know how to manage it better, right? You know how to shut that voice down. But yeah, I can say now with confidence, I was searching for my purpose. I was searching to build confidence and sense of worth. And yes, financially, I needed to find the means to go get an education.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that I'm hearing you and I'm like thinking of my dad because he did it that way too. He went into the military. He was in the
Mhm.
Marines. He served a term in the Marines and then he went into school. So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's so fascinating though. Did you choose the Air Force or
I did. And of course, now that you're familiar with military lingo, all the branches have fun poking at each other and stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna go with the easier route, as they say. And so it's just, it's just fun and games. So yeah, I was called towards going into the Air Force. That's what resonated at that time.
love that. So then you left the Air Force, you then went into college, university. Coming out of the Air Force, though, you said you felt like you had found that sense of purpose or at least heightened self-worth.
Yes.
So did you know then going into college that like what your purpose was coming out of the military?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Honestly, it's not until like a little bit later into adulthood that I found my purpose, my calling.
Mm,
And I had to go through phases though. I had to learn my own lessons to truly heal and help people in the way that I do now. Because unless you walk the journey yourself, yes, you are equipped with the knowledge and the tools, but having that experience, that is what people will be drawn to and they feel that sense the feeling of being heard in that way. It's a different knowledge and experience that you can bring to the table in helping people. So for me, so yes, I got back from deployment, started taking courses, and then went into full-time student mode too, a little after that. And it was during that moment where even then I was still questioning myself because I kept having these experiences pop up, these symptoms. And so at that time, mental health wasn't really talked about, right? It it was like, it's all in your head. Here's some antidepressants and, just deal with it, right? I had to walk through that journey because I had to learn different approaches. And so during college, I kept having panic attacks. And
wow.
now we know there's data that there is underlying trauma that everyone at some point goes through, big T trauma or little t trauma. And it can throw your nervous system off balance and they show up in different ways. And for me at that time, it was showing up as panic attacks. And there's so much we could dive deep on this, but at that moment, yeah, I just didn't know what to do except I went to the school counselor, got some talk therapy, and then the regular doctor just tried to just say, okay, here, try some antidepressants. But that really wasn't getting to root cause. It was a bandage approach.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I learned about it, it was actually I took a yoga class on base, not base, on campus, and I guess it is a base. So
Yeah.
it was on campus, and it was a trained yogi. Like he went to India to train, and he taught me the basis of breath work, of meditation, of going back to the basics, of going to nature. And if you look at ancient spiritual practices too, but then you look at science now, how it's merging and there's data that connects it, that is where you can find the true healing. You just need to know the tools. So I started learning how to regulate my nervous system. And I can put these into knowledge and words now, but at that time I didn't know that's what I was gearing up to do. So I used those. I got through college. I got through my MCAT. And that was a barrier. There was a lot. It wasn't, the panic attacks were a deeper rooted, I needed to get to root cause. And that's where I had to explore it. Okay, well, yeah, generational trauma is important. In fact, we know that it lasts about 5 generations, and it does get into your DNA in a way because it affects your nervous system. But that doesn't mean you're doomed. You just need to know the tools how to adjust that and stop it. And so there was that. There was all the other experiences that did lead up. And then I was at a block. That was my block from keeping me going forward, right? And then mindset was big too. So I combined all the tools that I talk about now that I was learning. And then it got me through. It got me through. The girl that was like always pushed in the back, the girl that was never like that was overlooked, the girl that was told, yeah, you're not good enough, right? And so I'm grateful I went through that because I can say with humility and confidence, right, that you can it doesn't matter. Those are the wrong people in your life anyways, right? You find your people when you're in the right environment and the right frequency. So after that, yeah, so I found the tools. I mean, all that, nutrition, sleeping, nervous system regulation, ancient spiritual practices, modern science, all that can blend in, not the bandage approach. So
Right.
I used that to get me graduated, then got into med school, and then of course that was the next journey. And you asked me, when did I find my purpose? So I'll fast forward to the timeline. Um, I use those same practices to get me through medical school. And it's a
Mm,
different beast of learning, of stress and everything. And I'm very fortunate. I not to brag, but it's actually you can do anything literally you set your mind to.
yeah.
And I graduated at the top 5 of my class in medical school.
Wow.
Yeah, and I never thought I could until I changed a lot of my mindset and things that I practiced. And then, of course, got into the residency of choice and graduated at the top, and COVID hit. And then I
Mm,
saw, okay, I'm getting closer. I thought I was supposed to heal people. I know I'm supposed to heal people, but how? What else, right? And so that's where I was getting closer. We were at a time we were burnt out. The medical community we still get abused, right?
totally.
But yeah, I saw the cracks in the system. It's a business. It's a business. It's not about people. And
Right.
it keeps you sick. We're in a sick reactive system.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go get extra training. So I got certified in functional medicine from Institute of Functional Medicine at Cleveland Clinic. And then I thought, well, the system's broken. I just need to make my own. So then I started to launch my own brand. And that is where a lot of my purpose started forming. That's where I knew where my calling was, is to bridge the best of Eastern and Western medicine to show people what true healing is. And then how can you be your highest self until you are actually holistically balanced. And that's what I mean, because we're not just complex. We are complex. We're not just a body of organs. We are mind, body, and spirit. And to know the tools and getting the right information, that is my purpose.
I love that. And the world needs so many of you. So many of you. That's incredible. I mean, like you got to be so proud of yourself for, I mean, just championing, advocating for yourself, for your purpose, everything. And, being an advocate for other people that you work with as well. I'm sure that they come to you in hyper stress mode and just, I mean, I know for me, I work with functional medicine practitioners here in Atlanta, and I mean, I recently had to advocate for myself. I'm
Mhm.
going through a really interesting health journey. But I feel like I've had gut issues for a long time. And yes, I mean, through doing the work and my family was raised, I mean, we are pretty holistic,
Mhm.
homeopathic remedies, in the 90s was kind of unheard of, but
Yeah,
the Chase family, we did it.
love
Yeah.
it.
So, it was we were more conscientious of these things. And I know even just over the last 15 years or 10 even that, yes, like our emotions are stored in our gut. And so there's a
Mhm.
lot of that. And like you were saying, the big T or little T trauma, I'm sure that there's a lot that has been so suppressed. And that's thus why I probably have a lot of gut issues. And
Yeah.
like, friends, even family, sometimes they'll poke at me and just be like, Kelly, like you were the cleanest eater, and I swear you're the like most unhealthy, healthy person we know. You always have something going on with you. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, probably because I didn't process the trauma from college. Like I didn't do anything about it. And there's just like there's a lot. I mean, I understand there's a lot of like anger suppressed in my body too, and liver, there's like that combination. But earlier this year, I had gone to my doctor. I had been working with this woman for a few years, and I got on some supplements and everything, and I told her then I was like, I eat better than any American, like 10 times better. I said, so I don't want to restrict myself anymore. Like I get it. Like my mom, when she does health things, she's 110% dialed in. Like she does not cheat at all. I, on
Yeah.
the other hand, I'm like, I'm sorry. Can I have one gluten cookie? Okay. Like one cookie every 6 months that's filled with gluten should not make or break me,
Yeah.
but it does. Um, but she was like, no, I get it. So, anyways, but I got on supplements and I was feeling a lot better. Then the supplements ran out. I never booked my follow-up appointment. Symptoms kind of reared their ugly head. They were worse. I haven't even started the supplements, but I have been feeling a little bit better just because have been so aware of like what to avoid food wise and just more grounding and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, I went to her recently and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but again, I like eat better than anyone I know. I said, I don't want to have to eliminate anything else. I said, but there's something deeper than me just cleaning up my diet. Like I am clean. So I want you to test for Lyme, mold, autoimmune, like do like a Dutch test. Like I want a full hormone
Mhm.
panel. I want the works. I don't care how much it cost. And we did. And I went back last week for my follow-up appointment, and lo and behold, dormant autoimmune, dormant Lyme disease,
Mhm.
active mold in my body.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
So
I'm
now
like,
you know there was. So you knew you were intuitive to know. But
yeah,
that also brings up a good point too, that it's always our bodies are connected and they're complex too. So yes, those are other things that functional medicine tests for that in conventional medicine we don't even look at, right? And so I love that because you truly are diving deep. But even more, something you said about there's a lot that's stored.
yeah,
There is, because we know that there's a gut-brain axis, right? The second nervous system, our enteric nervous system, right? And so if you think about that too, we know our body does hold serotonin in the gut as well. And then if you know, like you said, there's some sort of you have some inflammation going on, right? But then there's so much inflammation for people out there that we're living in a chronic stressful state. We're always in a hustle mode. So
mhm,
even that, like the bidirectionality of gut brain, brain gut, and then the rest of our body's connected, right? So if you're constant stress, like you said, you could be doing the right things, you could still be eating the right things, but there may be something deeper. Maybe there is some stress underlying, like be it trauma or stress that you're holding because that hormone, I mean that cortisol level is probably increasing. And so we know if cortisol increases, the rest of your body could be inflamed, and then that throws, you mentioned Dutch, so then that could probably throw your hormones off, and then like probably having leaky gut and whatever food you're like normally eating is like being attacked and rejected. So,
yeah,
your body is connected. So if you feel like you definitely know, like you said, you grew up with being in this world, but people out there that may listen to this that don't know, then your body is telling you something and it's okay. You just have to tune in and figure out what it is. And there is an answer. You don't have to live that way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, it's interesting too, because like I'll self-reflect. I'm like, okay, like I don't drink coffee because it's too acidic for my
Yeah.
body. And, and like, but I know so many people that drink multiple cups of coffee or they drink energy drinks. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there are probably so many people that are like, there is something actually going wrong with them. Like their body has
Mhm.
to be in survival mode, fight or flight all the time. Because I'm not the only one. Like I
Yeah.
definitely know that I am in that fight or flight. My nervous system is like off the charts sometimes, but I'm like, they have to, like, there's probably so many sick people walking around or unhealthy,
Yeah.
whatever, but they're just masking it because they're like, oh, I'm tired. Well, you're
Exactly. And that's
tired.
normal to them.
It's normal. So then they drink the coffee or drink the energy drinks and they
Yeah.
have the crashes and then they're like taking Adderall to stay awake and like all the things. And like,
Yeah.
there are so many sick people in this, especially in
Yeah.
this country. Like, so many. It's crazy.
But Kelly, that's the thing. Like people think that's normal. And so it's one of my favorite things is when my clients come to me, they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know I could feel this good." So for instance, like, I mean, yes, with lifestyle changes, but I'm going to drop in some sound bowl healing. So that's another
Yeah.
nervous system regulation technique. And there's so much data that shows that sound healing does adjust not only your brain waves, your brain activity, it puts you into the theta zone, the relaxation zone, and it helps your body relax too, right? The vibrations. And so the power is in the pause. And so when you pause and then you're like waking up from that and also maybe the lifestyle techniques, people are like, wait, I don't have brain fog, I'm not tired, like this is what normal feels like, this is what I can do, and it's beautiful. But the thing is, I think people just need to know, they just need to know and then listen, just pause, like it's okay, it's
Mhm.
okay to pause.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, granted, I was listening to I love David Bear. I don't know if you're familiar with David Bear, but I just love listening to his YouTube videos. And that was something that he was saying. He had gone and like studied in India and all the things.
Hmm.
Monk or shaman was telling him,
So
you know,
cool.
all
Yeah.
the big things. And he was like, he's like, we're never in the present. Like the present is like the greatest gift, of course. Like you, if you're radically present, there is no past, there is no future. He said, but what do we do in the present? We think about the past or we think about the
Yeah.
future always. So we're actually never in the present moment.
Yeah.
And so it is so true. Like when we can, that's obviously why it's helpful to do the meditations and sound practices. And I mean, granted, yeah, I get it. Like whenever I'm meditating, sure, I'm probably thinking about something that happened or something that I think might happen or what I want to happen. But at least I am actively trying to be present
Mhm.
and, at least being present with my thoughts at least, but so many of us have avoided and distracted. And I mean, that was me why I said I felt like, I have a lot of probably suppressed things because like I endured a pretty significant trauma in college, so 20 years ago. And it wasn't until 7 years ago that I started to address that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, for nearly 15 years, I was on autopilot.
Hmm.
And so many of us are, and I just really, I was like, nothing is changing in my life. Like everything I was doing, not getting me closer to the results that I was wanting and desiring. And I'm like, okay, Kelly, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
I was, a personal trainer for a little bit on top of, my corporate job. And that was something I said in my workouts. Was like nothing changes if nothing changes. And I'm like, Chloe, point that finger back at you. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, I did a 180 on my life and things started to change. I mean, my nutrition has always been, pretty clean and everything like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, I mean, just incorporating different somatic practices in my life. I think breath work was probably my first
Mhm.
somatic tool. Well, actually, sound healing, I guess. My sister did the both.
I
Uh,
love that. Yes.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love both. Those are such good ways to start with the
yeah,
breath and the sound. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, the breath work, I did like a triactive breath work session and cried my eyes out. And I was like,
Mhm.
what?
Your
What
body
was
needed to
that?
release. I mean, that's like we said, 15 years of being held, like your
Yeah,
body needed to release. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. It was so neat. But yeah, anyways, so I just love the work that you're doing. I think it's, the world does need to be open to it. And it's it's just a lack of education, more or less. I mean, whenever I share things about my functional medicine doctor, they're like, wait, what? Like, I mean, I recorded. I asked my doctor the other day, I was like, can I record you going through all my results? So in case I have a question, I could just come back and listen to your recording. And she was like, yeah, that's totally fine. It was like an hour and a half long. And I like, just took a little clip and like put it on my social media. And I was like, if your doctor isn't spending this much time with you, you need to
Yeah.
find another doctor.
Oh yeah. It's
Like,
true because
yeah,
that's honestly it's not going to happen in this system of the conventional medicine system, but that's why so many of us are just helping patients in a way that actually serves them.
yeah,
And that's what they need. You need to spend time with each person and truly give them a personalized approach and spend time talking to them. It's not that we don't want to, it's just you have to have the right system in place or create your own.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
what do you do like as far as burnout and resistance in life, burnout, like how do you approach those types of things with your clients? Because
Mm.
burnout is obviously, I think, what everybody struggles with for the most part.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. And that's one of my most common sought after like pieces of topics that I talk about. And yeah, I mean, if we look at what is burnout, burnout is really it's stress gone unchecked, right? And so when I refer to that cortisol level, so cortisol is produced from your adrenal glands. And so it's just an organ that sits on top of your kidney. And the tiny organ can do so much. And so what happens is you have your nervous system, which is split into fight or flight, sympathetic, and then parasympathetic, rest and digest, right? And so our bodies are so smart that it's generally there to protect us in case you need to flee from danger or you I like to go with the analogy of if you're being chased by a bear.
Yeah. Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
in a metroplex if you're getting pulled over for a ticket or whatever, right? So your body it doesn't really know the difference between actual trauma or if you're interpreting it, right? And so your body's still going to produce that cortisol and other neurochemicals that are released to keep you safe and flee and save your life. The thing is, once that acute threat is gone, your body can relax. But if you have that constant stressor, be it in your brain, if you're interpreting it from former experiences, or even if you look at lifestyle, right? If you eat certain toxic foods that are an inflammatory, that's also a stressor on your body, right? Or if you're constantly stressed, if you're in terrible relationships, right? Those all take a toll through the one of the mechanisms being your nervous system. So once people understand that, this is how you can break it, is knowing a lot of it is we're constantly hustling and we don't stop. So yes, that cortisol will burn out. The rest of the other hormones and neurochemicals will keep shooting, and then you'll be getting tired. You'll get brain fog. Your hormones will be out of whack. Your libido is gone. Your skin, hair, all that. Your gut is having issues. You're bloated, can't eat things, right? Like it's a lot. It affects your whole body. And so those are signs of burnout. And so a lot of times people, high achievers, high performers, it's like, but I'm burning at both ends. Like I need to go. I don't have time to like stop. But that is where the beauty of pause is. If you honestly pause and take moments to refuel and recalibrate your nervous system, that is where that next level is. That is where the performance continues. And think about it this way too. Simple things like sleep. Your body does need sleep. That's where you detoxify a lot. That's how you protect your brain from advancing to memory cognitive issues, right? And there's so much that happens, and we know this. But then what are the other tools, right? So if you give your permission yourself, it's a mindset thing. Like you give yourself permission to pause, you're doing so much better for your body. Then you can add in like all the other biohacks, right? Like, yes, first, get back to the basics, sleep, nutrition, stress relief, right? Um, mind, body, spirit practices. So when we go back to the nervous system, the vagus nerve is one of the longest nerve in your body. Why is that nerve that important, right? Because I talked about gut brain axis too, but the vagus nerve does so much. So you may hear people doing like carotid massages, right? Because that helps slow down, kind of calm, gargling, singing. But there's also breath work. So it takes about 30 seconds for your body. And there's different techniques you could do, like box breathing, 4-7-8, whatever, Wim Hof. But all those essentially signals your body that you're safe. And so your nervous system goes from fight or flight to rest or digest. And the more you practice it, the more you regulate your nervous system. So you're not constantly in stress and you're not about to tip over. So you're filling more fuel and capacity into your bucket. And that's just one simple way. And we live in a world where we have so much access to biohacking tools, right? But if you just take your breath with you, that's with you everywhere. You could do that. And if you so have the time, then yes, you could do cold plunge. That also helps release the proper like shock system and changes your biochemistry, hot therapy, sauna, all those. But the simple tool is always with you is your breath. Then you can
Mhm.
go into like yoga nidra, right? That's also science backed. It gives you the they call it yogic sleep because what it does, if you're constantly tired and you don't really have time to sleep, you could do some yoga nidra and that will refuel your body. That will be equivalent to sleeping at night. So there's another hack that if you're busy, you don't have time to like sleep, which you are allowed to sleep and rest. You're allowed to.
Yeah, yeah, you are.
So like but there's also yoga nidra, right? And then when you think about also working through burnout and trying to fill your tank up, there's neuroplasticity, right? That's just a fancy term that you can literally rewire your brain. It takes 21 days to start a new habit, but it takes longer to stick with it, right? So if you start with these simple th tools, if you break that thought pattern, the stressor, start breathing, start yoga nidra, or even start gratitude journal, right? That also helps rewire your brain, simple journaling. And so what I like to do is a simple tool is when you wake up, before you reach for your phone, before your alarm goes off, if you have kids or pets or whatever, just take 5 minutes, wake up 5 minutes earlier and just breathe. Honestly, just breathe. It just practice gratitude because that will rewire your brain. It rewires your biochemistry. And then that starts becoming a habit. Then you can start advancing more. So I think
Mm,
going to prevent burnout is resetting that nervous system because that's where it starts. And then
yeah.
finding the ways, the things that bring you joy, right? What are the simple things that bring you joy?
Yeah.
And another simple thing is too, yeah, like affirmations. I know it may sound silly, but it really is. It
Mhm.
really helps. Like think about all like the great performers, the athletes, right? They have affirmations, they have self-talk mindfulness,
Right.
but that's how you start the prevention or reversing that burnout. And so
Mhm.
that's just your mindset, your nervous system. Then you add in like the lifestyle, like that's
Right.
how it works. And so you could do all these other tools too, right? Like we talked about sound healing. Sound healing is another tool. So there's just so much out there. It's people sometimes get overwhelmed with choices. And so I always love to say, just start small. Wake up 5 minutes, don't look at your phone because that blue screen will start throwing your cortisol level off. And
Right.
as soon as it hits your eyes. So instead, do the breath work, try to journal, maybe go outside and get the sun in your eye because that will set your circadian rhythm. So simple things like that, yeah. And of course, community, right? Like if you have your community that battles so much of a lot of the burnout, also just your mood, your quality of life. So much we could dive into on there, yeah.
I know, like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I mean, yes, it can be very overwhelming. I mean, even sometimes, like, so I read, this was back in 2018, I read the book The Miracle Morning by Hal
Mhm.
Elrod. And I mean, the SAVERS acronym, that's the approach. It's to save your life. And it has. It really has saved mine because I am a different and better human because of implementing that SAVERS approach to my life.
Yeah.
I for probably the first few years after reading the book, I did the entire thing every single morning. I mean, I would spend an hour, 2 hours on myself every morning before the world woke up. I
Mhm.
would save the exercise part to last and I would go to the gym and do that, but everything else I did. And gosh, it felt so good. And like to this day, I may not do all six, or all six together, but I at least do them throughout the day, I would say. When I don't, and if I don't do it for a few days, I feel off. Like my mental health feels
Yeah.
really rocky. I feel frustrated. My mental health just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But
Those are
it's
necessary.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
But
agree.
gratitude, like I mean, they're all of that. Besides me getting the book for $15 on Amazon or whatever it was, like everything was pretty much free. It's
I know,
amazing. I
exactly.
I go on YouTube, free, I'm not paying any like subscription or anything. Like I just go on YouTube and I type in 5, 10 minute meditation, 10 minute
Mhm.
affirmations, 10 minute visualization. I
That's
have,
all you need.
a book that I'm reading or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I obviously do a workout. You can do a workout in your living room. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be this huge financial investment to start these practices. I mean, granted, yeah, over time, like myself, like obviously I have stuff going on. I had to make a big financial investment to like s- figure all this out. But I'm like, I even told my doctor, I was like, I know that there are a lot of different therapies that we can do to combat this mold and everything else that's going
Mhm.
on. I said, but this has been a very big financial investment for me. And I know that I want to tackle this as holistically as possible. And she was
Mhm.
like, no, absolutely. And she goes, she was going through everything and she was like, well, this is how we're going to do everything. This is how we're going to confront the physical plane, but now we're going to talk about the emotional and spiritual plane. And I was like,
Mhm.
first of all,
Exactly.
like even that you brought that up, I just love you. Like that was amazing. And she had this moment where she like said that and then all of a sudden she just got quiet and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I just got chills." And she said like the person, like she was like, "You need to fix this relationship." And she like pointed it out and I was like, how did you know?"
Yeah. There's an intuitive component of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just fascinating. But yeah, I just, want to, just reiterate to the audience like there are so many resources available. And yes, we don't want to overwhelm you, but I mean, growing up this way, continuing to practice this way, continuing to be curious about, techniques and tools that I didn't grow up that are more now, more or
Mhm.
I'm more awakened to now. Um, I think just incorporating all of this has just made my life so much better. And
It does. It does. And it's true too. I mean, just like you, if I don't get my morning meditation or evening meditation before bed or get my yoga session or something or get nature because that's what fills us up. It's okay to do that. But yes, that is yeah. And then like you said, everything is in balance and you need to have the enough of a bandwidth to get through everything else. And that's how
right.
you do it. And there's another app too, actually. There's something I have no stock in this. I just love it. It's free. It's called Insight Timer. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can take it everywhere. And so same thing, like, let's see, I don't feel like doing my own meditation today. I'm going to have a guided one today, or I want binaural beats today. I don't know,
So true. Yes, I used to use Insight Timer.
Yeah.
Now I'm such a YouTube girl. I'm just
You
like,
just find it there. Yeah. Same thing. It does
this is
the
my
same
platform.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does. No, I love that. What is okay, so can you expand? I know we just spent 30 minutes talking about this, but expand a little bit more on what exactly is functional medicine and root cause healing for those who might still be confused.
Yeah. So the best way I like to start, because everybody knows what conventional medicine is, right? I like to compare both of those. So when you look at conventional medicine, it's there to help put a bandage on. It's a bandage approach. It's a reactive approach. Everyone gets the standard treatment, even with like bedside manner, because of how it's an insurance-based system. Basically, you're limited. You don't really get much interaction. You go through like protocol that's standard for everyone. Functional medicine, it's a more of a personalized approach. It actually does advanced labs. And to compare that, like you may get a normal CBC, a limited thyroid panel, a limited lipid panel. Um, you may get some blood testing for hormones. Very limited. It doesn't give you a whole picture. But when you look at the functional medicine advanced labs, it's actually really personalized to the point where it's very advanced. So if you look at looking at your hormone panel, let's talk about Dutch, right? You talked about Dutch. It's one of my favorites, especially for perimenopausal women. Um, if you look at just regular blood work, it gives you a snippet of what your hormone is at that time. But the Dutch test, it's a urine test, and then you can add on a cortisol salivary test. What that does, it shows you where in your system your hormones are, how you're metabolizing, meaning breaking it down, because certain forms of estrogen may be elevated and lead down the path to have you more at an increased risk to have cancer. Or do you not have the building blocks to have the hormones? So that gives you more of a root cause, right? So if you don't have the right methylation pathways or B vitamins, right, then you won't be able to actually build those hormones properly or have them be of any use. So you may have issues instead of having hormone replacement therapy. Well, let's go back. What's going on? What's the root cause? Don't just throw hormones at it.
Right.
Sometimes it's okay to have it, but there's so much more you could do, right? You got to open up the pathways. How's your GI tract? Are you constipated? That's one of your detox pathways, right?
Right.
So if you don't open that up, your hormones will be affected, right? So
Correct.
that's one. Then your lipid panel, your cholesterol. Cholesterol is a big molecule, and there's different aspects of it. In certain patterns, you can read them and measure it, and it can give you an increased risk of cardiovascular events, meaning heart attack, stroke, right?
Mhm.
General general lipid panel is very limited, and they may throw you on a drug that's a statin, right? But not everybody needs that statin. There's so much more to it, and then you may still miss and have a cardiac event, right? And so functional medicine kind of that's how you can actually look at lab work. And you can also look at just advanced biomarkers like aging. How are you aging? How are you? There's just so much you could tap into. It's like hacking your body for you. Also, we look at environment, right? We look at previous trauma. We look at your lifestyle, sleep, nutrition, exercise, relationships, mind, body, spirit, everything. We look at everything on a personalized approach. So
Mhm.
it's truly how medicine should be.
Yeah, it should. Absolutely. 100%. I agree with you through and through.
Yeah.
It's even, I mean, I guess the more that I've awakened spiritually,
Yes.
everything is a spiritual practice now.
It is. It is. And I love to talk about that because it really is.
It's been a very, like, even, just me as an entrepreneur, like, as you just mentioned, even relationship, money, like,
Mhm.
everything has a spiritual component to it. And I just think it's been so fascinating awakening to all of that.
Yes. Well, it's
It's,
all the same frequency, right?
yeah,
Like you have
yeah.
to be in the same frequency to get all those.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And what you were just saying too about, like, if you're constipated, like,
Mhm.
it's just, okay, you gotta let things flow, right? And so if everything's in flow, like money is in flow, and like your relationship should
Mhm.
feel easy and effortless. Of course, it's gonna have its hard times, but like
Yeah.
there's a flow to everything too.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's
yeah,
true.
just like nutrition wise, like giving gratitude to your fruits and vegetables
Mhm.
and animal proteins,
Yeah, yeah.
everything is just so spiritual, and I love it in that
Me
regard.
too.
Okay, so you mentioned before we started that you are launching a book.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about that. That's like so empowering. I love
It
that.
is. It is. I'm really excited about it. And it was actually like healing for me too, because I was reflecting
Yeah.
on all these moments and just a component. So it's part memoir. It's called Odd Girl Out, Doctor Within, Story of Pillars and Purpose. So it's part memoir, but through that, it's lessons and then adding in functional medicine, science, holistic tools.
Mm.
And I love that because it's lesson and then a pillar, and then at the end, I added a work along book. So then if you don't have access to a functional medicine doctor or a holistic um, practice or spiritual guide or whatever, then I actually added each chapter of like a supplemental workbook. So you
Oh,
can help guide yourself, right? So I'm really excited about it. And it launches tomorrow.
that's amazing. Congratulations. That's
Thank
cool.
you.
Is this your
Thank
first
you.
book?
My first book, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm like 20,000 words in on a book I started 5 years ago. So it is
Let it
far.
flow. Let it flow.
Yeah. And so I commend you. It's like, so I never thought I was a perfectionist until I started.
When it's your own words, you're like, no, I don't like this. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my coach, she was like, Kelly, just write. Just write. Like
Yeah.
don't try and like be grammatically correct right now. I'm like, yeah, but like I can't not.
Yeah.
It's just wild. But I'm so excited for you. No, I mean, okay, wait, say the title again. So our listeners obviously will tag it in the show notes.
Yes. Odd girl out, Doctor Within.
Amazing.
Mhm.
That's so cool. Where will they be able to find it?
Amazon.
Amazing.
Tomorrow, first thing should be available Amazon, and then after that, it'll probably hit like Barnes and Nobles. But first thing is Amazon tomorrow.
That's amazing. Oh my God, celebrating you so, so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited to
Um,
share this.
yeah, of course. No. One thing else I wanted to ask you as far as you had mentioned very early on about like generational cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said something about it being like it could be as deep as like 5 generations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you expand on that? I'm like so curious to
Yeah, well, there's so many, and even when you talk about spirituality, right? Uh,
uh,
and going into it sounds so theoretical, but it's not, right? Because there is a spiritual component too, right? But then there's also like a scientific component because it is weaved into your DNA. So if you look at um let's look at anxiety, right? So if you look at, see if your mom was like really anxious, right? Well, what kind of trauma did they come from? Did they come from a war-torn country and then they had to escape that country? Then they had to start with a new place, find food, shelter, etc. Then the next generation has a different one. They come to a developed country, they have to start new, then you start like getting advanced. So then how does that anxiety show up, right? Maybe like the mom is like constantly panic, cannot, and then she's overly protective of her child, like just it passes down. So maybe the child just doesn't have self-regulation techniques because the parent didn't have it, right? That's just one example of where
mm,
that emotional regulation comes in, or the ability, like avoidant personalities, right? Just
mm,
sometimes people just don't have the tools or learn the tools to process because at that time it was survival, right? Like you don't have time to think about all these extra luxurious emotions, right? Like that's one. But then you look at this is getting very like spiritual too. So I mean, if you
I
look,
love it.
yeah,
Dive
if you so if you look at like karmic cycles and like soul contracts and stuff, right? So maybe you're just slightly different from your family because they're all still living in chaos, right? They're just constant, maybe everything is just life and death, right? They just don't know how to calm down. They don't know how to do that. That's one. If you look at money issues, right? So not only is that the frequency, right? If you're thinking, oh gosh, that's not enough, or whatever the case is, if money was an issue, well, money's going to continue being an issue unless you figure out that frequency, right? So there's just so many different layers of generational trauma. And if you look at the fetus when it's growing in the mom's womb, right? If the mom is in a stressful environment, be it physical, mental, they're consuming whatever the case is, toxins, right? It's going to affect the baby. It gets into their telomeres, their DNA, and the links. That doesn't mean you're doomed, right? You just need to know what it is to break that cycle, and you can. There's something called epigenetics, right? There's certain genes that you can turn on and off. Some things that you're born with or you inherited with, but there's certain things you could do to make sure you could switch those genes on and off in a healthier way.
mm.
So one of them being, yes, like nervous system is big, right? If you look at all that anxiety, the trauma, whatever the case is, there's tools, there's so many practices out there, right? Like you mentioned, you dropped the word shaman, right? There's shaman, like there's so many aspects out there that you just need to know and get called to. So those are combine that with, all the scientific things, but the spiritual components. And then you look at where is the other thoughts? There's just so much you can go down on that. You could do food, right? If you look at food, how are you eating? Are you eating an inflammatory diet, right? Are you eating certain things? And that will switch the genes on and off too. So you do have control on certain things. So I think
It's
to
true.
the biggest thing is you're aware, okay, generational trauma does exist. What type is it? Where did your background come from, right? What did your grandmother do? Where did they come from? What is your mom doing? What are you doing? What are you doing that could pass or not pass on to your kids? So I think
Mhm.
the first thing is the awareness. You know it can last cycles, but you can break it, and then the tools that you know how you can.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of, you were saying a lot of the ways in order to break those cycles is like through what you mentioned as far as like all the nervous system
Mm-hmm.
re-regulation, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And knowing. Yeah. And then just knowing exactly where it is and getting uh, the right type of therapy if you need that, right? Or the right type of spiritual guide or
Mm,
whatever the type of trauma is or whatever is being passed on. And it could be something simple as, okay, well, maybe I'm not holding enough space for my child because I'm not filling my cup up because I'm constantly like anxious or whatever the case is. But where is that coming from, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Having the awareness of where it's coming from is really
Yeah.
profound. It's funny because when I first started, like shadow work and inner child healing,
Hmm.
my coach she was trauma informed coach, and she asked me, where is like people pleasing come from?
Hmm.
Worry that you're not enough or not good enough and all that, right? And I first backed it up to like the college trauma. Then I was like, well, actually, maybe it was, in preschool. Actually, this girl told me I couldn't play with her and the other girls. And
Hmm.
then I like sat there a little bit longer and I was like, I feel like the first time that I was rejected, although I was in the womb, like I don't know this. But I
Yeah.
was like, my mom was very sick with me her first like 6 months of her pregnancy.
Mhm.
And I'm sure the words get this baby out of me. I'm sure they had to have come out of her mouth.
Right.
I was sick like that. And like she was, I mean, there's a picture of my mom when she was like 6 or 7 months pregnant. It didn't look like she had a baby. Like
Oh,
she was so tiny because she was like, I puked like every single day.
yeah. That
Like
sounds terrible.
it sounds terrible. I was like, oh my God. So it's just like our language, just like our thoughts create feelings,
Hmm.
if I'm a human growing inside of someone else, I'm sure she wasn't like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
love the pregnancy. So like
Yeah.
obviously I don't know if there's truth to it, but I just felt like, wow, maybe there was like that. Like I actually have like my biggest rejection wound is from my mom.
You never know. And I love shadow work. I really do. I think it's so important because it picks up on the key developing years and people that have impact on us. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. It's been fascinating. So, okay, so obviously, like you're doing all the things now. When did you start like keynote speaking and like doing other things outside of just medicine?
Sorry, repeat that.
Oh, like when did you start like keynote speaking and doing things outside of just being a doctor, more or less, being outside of medicine?
I would say I started developing a passion for speaking. Well, I would say I've always spoken like at medical conferences, but that's a
Okay.
different type of speaking, right? But I actually, how did I come across it? So I started going out to networking, right? When I launched, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna explore my entrepreneur side. So when I launched, I started networking and then I started making friends. And then, like you said earlier, we have mutual friends in common. And so one of them happened to be a speaker already. And so I started exploring that realm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do have a story to talk about. I do have something. So then I started just speaking like for free at events and like just started doing podcasts and just found different ways to have stages. And that's where I realized, you know what? I'm meant to speak because I just need to start. And so that's where I started. Yeah, it started with the networking, meeting the right people, making friends, getting the right mentors. Like
Uh,
I look back at it and yeah, it was how I ended up doing more stages and I'm very grateful to continue having more stages.
mhm.
So yeah, I would say it turned into discovering another passion and purpose.
That's amazing. I love that. I
Hmm.
love that so much. Has I mean, just, I want to say, like, we were talking, going back to the kind of you saying about the like-minded people, like, your communities and your circles, have they transformed over time the more that you're stepping into your own power and choosing, the direction that you are going in? Has there just kind of on the vulnerable side of like your life in general, like have you felt like you've had to leave circles or leave friend groups or like what has that been like for you? I feel like I'm asking you this because I feel like a lot of people like when they're thinking about speaking or podcasting or, being an influencer, like doing things where they're going to be more seen, right? It's like
Mhm.
they also have a lot of fear of judgment, fear of being seen, fear of success, even. Um, I'm sure that there's a level of that with me. So, yeah, I was just wondering if you ever encountered that of like the things that you had to transition away from to gain
Yeah.
life that you're living today.
Oh my goodness, yes. And yeah, I felt that too. Just like you say, you feel that I'm gonna go towards the when you're awakened and you're becoming more of you, the right people will stick around you. And a lot of times the ones and sometimes it's not on a conscious level for these people. The people closest to you have known you a certain way. And so when they see you changing and advancing, and that's where some of that other shadow work comes in. So be it a partner, or be it friends, or whatever the case is, if you keep going up and you're doing the work and you're advancing and getting closer to what you're meant to do, but this person isn't catching up, and that goes with anyone. They're eventually going to not be in your frequency and they will naturally fall off. But that is the course of, certain relationships, right? So, yes, I felt that. And at first I'm like, well, is it me? That's where that imposter syndrome comes in. That's where that, inner child like rejection comes in, right? But you don't know that unless you've done the work. And then you're like, no, it was for a season. It's not my people. Your people, you'll know because you have the right frequency. They are your support. They're the intention is really pure. It's not there to hold you back and make you feel bad. So yeah, I would say a lot of times is if people don't understand it or they're just subconsciously just in fear, that's
Yeah,
where those relationships drop, and that's okay because you're making space for things that actually do fit.
yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I do feel that. I still feel it today, and I trust the process.
Good. I love that. Trust
Mhm.
the process, everyone.
Yeah, it's hard, but you just
Do
flow,
it.
just go with the flow still.
Go with the flow. Yeah. Be in flow. Absolutely. No, I love that. Well, is there anything else that maybe I didn't expand on that you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
Oh no, just reach out if you have any questions. You can, DM me and just would love to hear from you. Yeah.
Yeah. Where can they find you? Where can they reach out?
Yeah, so they can so Instagram at keep it simple, Dr. Remina, DrRemina, and then my website is www.drremina.com. And then you could just email me too, but normally you could find the email on the website, but so you could just reach out, follow me on Instagram too. I always post free stuff, and if there's events like retreats that I'm going to be doing or something, just come out and visit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. And everybody get her book.
Yes, please, definitely buy my book tomorrow. I would love it. And if it's such a gift to give someone a way to heal. And if
Yeah,
there's someone you also love too that would benefit, that it would be such gratitude because that means that, I'm sharing my voice and that gives you permission to also own yours and find yours.
I love that. So powerful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.